In our pursuit of spiritual understanding, the concept of the shadow self is essential yet frequently misunderstood. The shadow self comprises the aspects of our personality we've disowned or rejected. To unlock the shadow self is not merely to acknowledge these parts, but to integrate them with our conscious being, leading to a profound transformation. When we begin to unlock our shadow self, we initiate a process of deep self-discovery. It's like walking into a room that's been locked for years, dust-covered, with cobwebs lining the corners. The light we bring to this room is our willingness to explore, to understand, and to accept. It can be unsettling to see the parts of ourselves that we've hidden away, but this is where true growth begins. The first step in this process is recognition. We must see and accept that we have aspects of ourselves that are not in line with our ideal self-image. Often, these are traits that we've seen negatively impacting others and have vowed not to embody. They can range from anger, jealousy, and greed to vulnerability, fear, and sadness. Recognizing these traits in ourselves is a monumental task because it requires breaking down the walls of denial we've built around them. Once we've identified these traits, the next step is to understand their origin. Where did they come from? What events or circumstances in our lives led us to repress these parts of ourselves? This exploration can often take us back to early childhood experiences, cultural conditioning, or traumatic events. We must tread these waters with care, for they are delicate and deeply personal. The journey toward unlocking our shadow self is not a solitary one. While the introspective work is our own, we often need guidance and reflection from others. These can be trusted friends, family members, or a professional such as a therapist. Through conversation and feedback, we gain external perspectives on our internal struggles. In this exploration, we might find that we've projected our denied traits onto others. When we react strongly to someone else's behavior, it could be because we see in them what we cannot accept in ourselves. By recognizing these projections, we begin to reclaim the parts of ourselves that we've unconsciously cast onto others. Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons. The insight we gain from unlocking our shadow self is not meant to be kept in the dark. We must bring it into the light, integrating these traits into our conscious life. This doesn't mean we act out every shadow trait, but rather that we acknowledge these traits and understand how they influence our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Integration is a delicate balance. It is not about letting these traits run wild, but about understanding their place in the totality of who we are. When we integrate our shadow self, we become more authentic and whole. We no longer need to hide or deny parts of ourselves, leading to a more peaceful and centered existence. But how do we integrate these traits without becoming overwhelmed by them? It begins with acceptance. We must accept that these traits are a part of us, not to be eradicated but understood and transformed. Through acceptance, we can start to see the value in every aspect of our being, including the shadow. Practically, integration can look like many things. It might mean setting boundaries where we previously let others cross lines, or it might mean being more assertive in places where we've been passive. It could also involve embracing vulnerability where we've been closed off, allowing ourselves to experience a greater depth of emotion and connection. Unlocking our shadow self also influences the way we relate to others. As we become more integrated, our relationships become more genuine. We relate to others from a place of wholeness, not from a fractured self-image. This can lead to deeper connections and a greater sense of empathy as we recognize the complexity within everyone. We must be patient with ourselves as we unlock our shadow self. It's a process that can bring up discomfort and resistance. The key is to move through this discomfort with compassion and understanding. It's not about achieving perfection, but about growing into a fuller expression of who we are. As we continue this exploration, we may ask, what does it mean to live a life unburdened by the weight of unacknowledged shadows? It means living with a sense of freedom, authenticity, and peace. It means engaging with life from a place of wholeness, where we no longer need to hide or pretend. Now, I invite you to consider how unlocking your shadow self could change the way you move through the world. How might it affect your choices, your relationships, and your sense of self? It's a question worth exploring as we journey through the process of self-discovery and transformation. As we reach a pause in our reflections, let us hold in our understanding the discoveries we've made thus far. The path toward unlocking our shadow self is both challenging and rewarding, revealing the depth of our complexity and the potential for our growth. The labyrinth of mirrors, embracing the reflections of our truest selves. With the initial steps of acknowledging and understanding our shadow self underway, we enter a labyrinth of mirrors, reflecting parts of our existence we have long ignored or misunderstood. This reflection is not to criticize or judge, but to embrace fully the multitude of facets that compose our being. As we navigate this labyrinth, we encounter various reflections, some of which we admire, others we may have shunned. In this stage of our journey, let us explore the transformative power of empathy, both for ourselves and for others. Empathy is the capacity to understand and share the feelings of another. However, before we extend this empathy outward, we must first apply it to ourselves. When we confront our shadow, we must do so with the kindness and gentleness we would offer to a dear friend in distress. As we become more empathetic toward our own experiences, we might find that the emotional intensity surrounding our shadow traits begins to soften. Where there was once self-judgment, we now find understanding. Where there was resistance, we now cultivate curiosity. This is the essence of self-compassion, a powerful tool in embracing our shadow. In the realm of empathy, it's crucial to recognize that everyone has a shadow self. This realization can radically alter our interactions with others. When we see someone acting from their shadow, instead of reacting with disdain or anger, we can approach them with the same empathy we've learned to extend to ourselves. This shift in perception can mend rifts in our relationships and foster a more accepting and compassionate community. The process of unlocking our shadow self also requires a re-evaluation of our values and beliefs. Over time, we accumulate many such values and beliefs, but not all of them serve our highest good. Some may stem from societal expectations, others from our upbringing. As we integrate our shadow, we have the opportunity to discern which values and beliefs truly resonate with our authentic selves and which we've outgrown. This re-evaluation leads us to authenticity. Authenticity is living in alignment with our true values, beliefs, and desires. It is the antithesis of living a life scripted by others. When we align with our authenticity, we no longer seek external validation for our worth because we understand that our value is intrinsic. Living authentically means making choices that reflect our true selves, even when they go against the grain. It means being honest in our expression and actions, and it means having the courage to stand alone if necessary. The path to authenticity is not always easy, but it is always rewarding, for it leads us to a life of integrity and purpose. But how do we distinguish between the influences of the shadow and the voice of authenticity? This discernment comes from a place of deep inner stillness. It requires use to quiet the external noise and listen intently to the whispers of our innermost being. It is in this stillness that we can differentiate between fear-based reactions from our shadow and the wise guidance of our authentic self. The path of authenticity also invites us to consider our relationships once more. Are we surrounding ourselves with people who honor our authentic self? Or are we maintaining connections that reinforce the masks we wear? The people in our lives serve as mirrors, reflecting back to us the truths we either embrace or deny. Unlocking our shadow self can lead to an upheaval in our social circles. As we change, our relationships may also transform. Some may deepen, becoming more aligned with our integrated self, while others may dissolve as we outgrow them. This is a natural and necessary part of the process. In embracing our shadow, we also learn to navigate the dualities within us. We learn that strength can coexist with vulnerability, that confidence can accompany doubt, and that joy can be found even in sadness. These dualities are not contradictions, but rather complementary forces that, when balanced, lead to a dynamic and full expression of life. Let us now reflect on the freedom that comes with embracing our shadow. Imagine moving through life unencumbered by the fear of exposing the parts of yourself you've hidden. Imagine interacting with others without the need for pretense. This freedom allows us to be fully present in each moment, to experience life in its entirety, the light, the dark, and every shade in between. As we reach another pause in our journey, consider the ways in which empathy, authenticity, and the balance of dualities have manifested in your life. How have they shaped your path? How have they influenced the person you are becoming? The labyrinth of mirrors offers endless insights, and as we continue to walk its winding paths, we encounter ever deeper layers of our being. The alchemy of the soul. Embracing the shadow within. In the spiritual journey of self-discovery, we encounter the concept of the shadow self, a hidden repository of repressed aspects of our personality. This encounter initiates an alchemical process, transforming the base elements of our inner turmoil into the gold of self-awareness and enlightenment. The shadow is often misconstrued as an enemy within, but it is, in truth, a profound teacher. When we courageously engage with our shadow, we unlock a potential for immense growth and liberation. Our darkest parts, once acknowledged and integrated, become powerful catalysts for expanding our consciousness. Transforming shadow into light requires us to harness the raw energies of our suppressed feelings and traits. Anger can metamorphose into a force for positive change, fear into the birthplace of bravery, and jealousy into a signpost towards our true desires. Such transformation demands that we first sit with our emotions without judgment, becoming observers rather than captives of our inner storms. Creating space between impulse and action, we discover our power of choice, responding from a place of aligned intention rather than reacting from old patterns of pain. This is the heart of emotional alchemy, where every breath becomes a chance to reshape our destiny. Our creative essence also benefits from embracing the shadow. Creativity thrives on the unexplored and the unexpressed. By delving into our hidden depths, we tap into a wellspring of authentic inspiration. Artistic expression becomes a vehicle for integrating our shadow, narrating our untold stories, and healing the silenced parts of our being. This journey is about finding balance, a dynamic equilibrium between light and shadow. It calls for mindfulness and a continual realignment with our inner truth. In embodying this balance, we radiate a healing presence, offering acceptance and understanding that invites others to explore their own depths. An integral part of this transformative work is forgiveness. forgiving ourselves for the parts of us we've shunned and for our shortcomings. Forgiveness is a key that unlocks the chains of the past, allowing us to move into the present with freedom and grace. This forgiveness also extends outward, not as an endorsement of harm caused, but as a release from the grip of resentment. It is a profound liberation from the burdens we carry, enabling us to step forward unencumbered. As we engage with our shadow, we must be wary of spiritual bypassing, the tendency to use spirituality to avoid confronting deep-seated emotional wounds. True transformation requires that we face these wounds directly, not merely sidestep them under the guise of spiritual progress. The path of self-transformation is cyclical, often bringing us back to lessons we thought we had learned. This is not failure but a deepening of understanding, a recognition that growth is not linear but spirally ascending. Let us take a moment to contemplate the changes brought forth by our engagement with the shadow. Consider how this journey has reshaped your relationship with your emotions, creativity, and interpersonal dynamics. Reflect on how it has altered your approach to forgiveness and healing. In this reflection lies the essence of your soul's alchemy, the ongoing process of turning darkness into light.